Sano Yuji was just another overworked employee grinding away at his job when he suddenly gets summoned to another world. And what's his new gig? Monster Tamer. Not exactly the most glamorous profession, but plot twist, Yuji stumbles across some slimes who, instead of just being cute blobs, actually read magic books. Thanks to them, he unlocks a hidden second profession, Sage. Translation? He's now ridiculously overpowered, but Yuji barely even realizes just how insanely strong he is. While he's casually wrecking monsters and breaking every known power scale, he's still just going with the flow, completely unaware that he's basically become the strongest being in the world. Yuji, with the help of his trusty slimes, takes down a monster like it's just another Tuesday. Meanwhile, an adventurer named Gale, who saw the whole thing, rushes to the Fasten Adventurers Guild, raving about a fire-breathing slime. Unsurprisingly, his fellow adventurers think he's lost it. That's when Yuji casually strolls into the guild with Sura chilling on his shoulder and hands his latest quest over to Lily, the receptionist. She asks about the dryad flowers he was supposed to collect, and Sura just vomits up an entire pile of them. Lily is understandably horrified, but quickly reports this to the big boss, Guildmaster Aegis, who shows up and immediately buys the lot from Yuji. Just then, an adventurer named Resin bursts in with some actual bad news. There's smoke rising from several parts of the forest, likely from a monster attack. Yuji, being the all-knowing monster whisperer that he is, checks in with his slimes scattered around the woods and confirms that a massive horde is headed their way. Aegis suggests evacuating the town, but Yuji has a crazier idea. He's got a dragon bone and can recreate a fire powerful enough to obliterate the incoming threat. Naturally, the other adventurers aren't so sure about letting a random guy and his pet slime handle this, but then Gale, recognizing Yuji's slime as the fire-breathing legend from earlier, jumps in to vouch for him and asks what they can do to help. As dusk falls, Lily and Aegis hand out dryad potions to the adventurers, while Resin organizes the defense at the town gates. Yuji climbs a stairway to get a better vantage point, checking in with Proud Wolf, who's already on the front lines. Watching the battle unfold, Yuji decides it's time to step things up. He feeds Sura a dragon horn and tells his slimes they're wrapping this up in 15 minutes. While analyzing the battlefield with his magic maker, Yuji gets a call from Dryad, who's spotted a shady figure up to no good. Turns out, this mystery person planted a magical stone to summon the monster horde. Time to shut that down. Yuji sends 3 slimes to trap the culprit in a net and then destroys the summoning stone. With no way out, the mysterious figure takes the easy way out and dies on the spot. Meanwhile, Proud Wolf checks in, confirming he's reached the town. Yuji sends some slimes on Proud Wolf's back to help out Gale's team, finally proving that Gale wasn't just making up wild stories. Now it's time for the grand finale. Yuji hatches a plan to erect a barrier around the town and coat it with dragon fire for extra protection. He also notices Lily totally eavesdropping and tells her to have Aegis call everyone back inside. Dryad and her crew retreat underground, and the adventurers head back, except for Gale and Resin, who are still out there fighting a giant monster. Enter Proud Wolf, who takes the monster down with an attack to the neck and drags the two into the town before Yuji drops the ultimate nuke, Hellfire Demise. The first blast wipes out nearly all the monsters, but Yuji, being the overachiever he is, throws up another barrier and launches Hellfire Demise again, completely draining himself in the process and passing out. When Yuji finally wakes up, he finds himself in a cozy room with Lily and his slimes nearby. Meanwhile, Aegis investigates the scene where the monster horde was summoned and stumbles upon some evidence that ties back to a cult. Back in town, Yuji tries some soup Lily brings him while watching the townspeople celebrate. Lily, clearly curious, asks why he risked so much to save a place he barely knows but then takes it back before he can answer. This triggers Yuji's memories of his past life, and before anyone can notice, he slips away from town, vanishing without a trace. The next day, Lily reports Yuji's disappearance to Aegis, but before they can dwell on it, she spots a dusty old lantern-like magic stone holder on his desk. Aegis recognizes it. It belongs to the cult people have been whispering about for a while now. Unbeknownst to them, a sneaky slime was eavesdropping on their entire conversation, and elsewhere, Surapaki confirms that they're closing in on their next destination. Yuji rolls into Kilia, his latest stop, and immediately heads to a butcher to buy some meat for his ever-hungry monster crew. As his slimes and Proud Wolf chow down, a bell rings out across town. Curious, Yuji asks the butcher what's up, and he learns that the sound is coming from the local church, where a priest from the central city just arrived. Suspicious, maybe? But Yuji has other things to handle first. Next stop, the Adventurers Guild. He tries to register, but the receptionist isn't too keen on letting him in at first. That is, until she sees he has an enemy tracking skill. Suddenly, he's in. As he checks out the job board, he gets approached by a group of adventurers, Rhodis, Eris, and Lisa. They're interested in his tracking ability and invite him to join their party. Rodis isn't thrilled about teaming up with a Tamer, but Tina and Lisa push back, reminding him of his own shaky history with past groups. To make things fair, they strike a deal. If Rodis lets Yuji in, they won't kick Rodis out. The squad sets off on a job to track down an Earth Dragon, which was their original quest before Yuji came along. Flashback time. Turns out, Yuji's slimes, riding on Proud Wolf's back, scouted ahead and found a pack of 5 wolves. When the team moves forward, Rodis handles the fight himself. Sure, Yuji could have just let his slime steamroll the wolves, but he wanted to see what his new party members could do. Later, the group sets up camp by a riverside. Lisa and Tina try to pry into Yuji's enemy tracking ability, but Rodis steps in, declaring it bedtime and assigning shifts for keeping watch. Seems normal, but Yuji's not convinced. Cue another flashback. When Yuji first woke up in this alternate world, he found out he was a Tamer. A lone slime led him to an abandoned house filled with magic books. After flipping through them, he unlocked a bunch of powerful spells, and more slimes showed up, all eager to learn. In no time, they all became his familiars, and his skill level skyrocketed. That's when he earned the title of Sage. Back in the present, Yuji wakes up to an emergency report from his slimes. Turns out, Rodis ditched his watch and is running off to some shady meeting. Meanwhile, Tina and Lisa are also missing because they were following Rodis suspicious of his sudden generosity. And boy, were they right to be. Rodis meets up with a guy who's planning to sell the girls as slaves and assumes Yuji will somehow just drop dead along the way. Turns out, this scumbag is part of a cult called the Blue Moon of Salvation. As Tina and Lisa try to escape, they accidentally trigger a trap, but joke's on the bad guys because Proud Wolf and the slimes set off an even bigger one, making them appear like a massive beast in the darkness. The cultists, not wanting to deal with whatever the hell that is, retreat to a nearby hut. Yuji, always quick on the draw, sees his chance and freezes the entire hut solid with a ranged frost, medium spell. Later, Sura coughs up the leader of the operation. Yep, just spits him out, revealing him to be none other than Gelios, a notorious bandit. Tina instantly recognizes him. With the situation handled, Yuji's slimes find a new campsite and set everything up. As Tina and Lisa finally get some rest, Yuji sits by the fire, replaying what Gelios said about the Blue Moon of Salvation. He's convinced they were behind the attack on Fastan. But what really sticks in his mind is the thing Gelios mentioned in passing, a calamity. As Yuji's group gets closer to Delight Canyon, a powerful gust of wind nearly knocks them off their feet. Tina mentions that there's a rumor the wind comes from the Earth Dragon they're hunting, though she's not entirely buying it. Yuji, as usual, stays quiet and lets her speculate. On the way, Yuji has a little mental throwback to when he first joined the Adventurers Guild in Fastan. Resin put him through a series of tests, but no shocker here. Yuji aced every single one with ridiculous ease. Fast forward to the present, and he decides to slap a magical limiter on himself just to keep things interesting. Meanwhile, his slimes handle all the nearby monsters like it's just another Tuesday. Then, things take a turn. The sky suddenly darkens. Back in Kilia, the town priest, Stale, discusses a mysterious prophecy with Guildmaster Rayard. It's got something to do with the Blue Moon of Salvation, which is never a good sign. At the same time, Yuji gets a report from Proud Wolf. There's a giant blue dragon nearby. Not exactly something they want to fight head-on, so the group retreats deeper into the canyon. As they push forward, Yuji has his monsters clear the area ahead, but just as they make it out of the canyon, the Earth Dragon ambushes them. Lisa and Tina immediately turn tail and run, but Yuji, he stands his ground. To avoid raising suspicion, he deliberately uses weak spells, making it look like he's struggling. Of course, the attacks barely scratch the dragon, but Yuji's got a plan. He uses the canyon's strong wind gusts to kick up a cloud of dust, blinding the beast. Under that cover, he swiftly obliterates the Earth Dragon without anyone realizing what really happened. When the dust settles, Tina and Lisa assume he just triggered some underground ore explosion, and Yuji just lets them believe it. After the adventure, the group heads back to the guild to report both their victory and Rodis' shady dealings with the bandit Gelios. For their troubles, they rake in a whopping 14,070,000 gold. Not bad for a few days' work. But before Yuji can even think about enjoying the reward, Rayard pulls him into an urgent meeting about the Blue Dragon sighting. To help, Yuji uses his photography skill, having Sura print out a crystal-clear image of the beast. That's when Stale drops a bombshell. According to legend, the dragon will completely destroy the land within 3 days. Rayard presses Stale for details on how the dragon was stopped before. The answer: a divine emissary with godlike powers once defeated it. The problem? The only text describing the exact method is ripped out of the tome. Even worse, Stale reveals that 30 years ago, the church performed a ritual known as the Spirit Summoning Ceremony. Supposedly, its effects were set to take place exactly 30 years later, which was last week. And yet, no divine emissary has shown up. The mood in the room, pretty bleak. Then, as if things weren't bad enough, the sky briefly darkens again. Yuji's slimes report that the blue dragon has grown even bigger, and he immediately relays this bad news to everyone. Rayard decides that at first light, the blue dragon must be taken down. Later, in the dining hall, Yuji and his slimes enjoy a meal when Tina and Lisa approach. They casually drop the news that they've joined the Blue Dragon subjugation squad, then leave before Yuji can react. Shortly after, Stale shows up and leads Yuji to the cathedral, where he hands him a relic, a dagger from the capital. Appraising it, Yuji learns its name, the Knife of Kethis. That night, alone in his room, he reflects on what Resin once told him about his magic. If he really wants to push his limits, now might be the time to test something new. Yuji goes head-to-head with the massive blue dragon, throwing everything he's got at it. With his tamed monsters backing him up, he lands some devastating blows using a combination of the Knife of Kethis and his Hellfire of Demise spell. But even after all that, the dragon still isn't down for the count. It loses its left eye, sure, but it's still very much in the fight. Running dangerously low on mana, Yuji plays it smart and waits for the perfect moment to unleash his Divine Strike spell. When it finally hits, it's powerful enough to stagger the beast, and Yuji wastes no time. Channeling Hellfire of Demise once more, he swings his knife and slices the dragon's head clean off. The next morning, Yuji wakes up to a knock on his door. It's Rayard. He drops 2 pieces of news. 1. Father Stale has already left town. And 2. Stale apparently received a divine message confirming that the blue dragon was officially toast. Before heading off, Rayard casually lets Yuji know that if he ever needs help, like, say, slaying a dragon, the guild's got his back. Later, Tina and Lily treat Yuji to some food as a way of making up for their party suddenly disbanding. When they ask where he's headed next, Yuji mentions he's looking for another town, and they suggest Ricardo. After getting a quick rundown on the place, he figures it sounds like a good next stop. As he sets off, Yuji leaves a couple of slimes behind, just in case. But before he gets too far, Dryad suddenly reaches out, sounding alarmed. Turns out the emergency is actually mushrooms. Specifically, red and blue ones that, when properly ground up, can be used to make sage potions and mana restoration potions. Intrigued, Yuji has his slimes gather a bunch of them. Dryad tries to whip up a mana restoration potion, but the result is way off. She figures out the problem. The water isn't pure enough. So, Yuji does what Yuji does best, improvises. Using magic, he and the slimes create a distillation barrier to purify the water. Dryad, clearly impressed, gets a little nostalgic and recalls the first time they met. Back when Yuji destroyed a magic stone draining the energy from her forest. In return, she gave him some of her flowers as thanks. Back in the present, the distilled water does the trick. Dryad successfully creates 5 sage potions and 2 mana restoration potions. With that taken care of, Yuji and his tamed monsters finally continue their journey to Ricardo. But as they navigate through a thick fog, Proud Wolf suddenly picks up a human scent. Curious, they follow it and end up in a very strange settlement. The people there all greet them with unsettlingly cheerful smiles, and the village leader warmly invites them to stay until the fog clears. Yuji, ever cautious, politely declines, saying he'll find his way soon enough. The leader looks disappointed, but offers him a meal anyway, a tiny half loaf of bread. When Yuji declines, the leader shifts gears and asks what brought him there. Yuji simply explains that the fog led him off course, and the leader accepts the answer at face value. Before leaving, Yuji asks for the name of the village. The leader answers with a single word, Messiahs. As they leave, Yuji can't shake the strange feeling the village gave him, and for good reason. Deep within Messiahs, in a hidden room, the leader uses an orb to communicate with someone, cryptically reporting that the dragon's grace will be harvested from the canyon, all in the name of the blue moon of salvation. Yeah, definitely not a normal village. Meanwhile, Yuji and his crew finally spot Ricardo in the distance. But instead of a lively town, they're met with an entire landscape covered in snow. That's the end of the recap. Let us know if you want part 2 by leaving a comment in the comment section down below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to avoid being virgin forever. See you guys in the next video.